Hi, I'm Walt Disney Imagineer Asa Kalama. I'm one of the people who design and build all the cool theme park attractions, like the wave pool at Disney's Typhoon Lagoon, where you can catch a ride on a perfect 5-foot wave every 90 seconds. As they say, cowabunga. Science rocks! Now, I know what you're thinking. Gnarly waves at Typhoon Lagoon? Dude, isn't this supposed to be a show about science? Well, it is. And as an Imagineer, I'm happy to tell you that if you think science is only done in labs like this, or hard to figure out, like this, well, the science we're about to explore is a lot more fun than that. It involves imagination, which you already have, and the scientific principles that are zipping around us all the time. As Imagineers, we use science to tell stories to take you to exciting places. And when you start thinking like an Imagineer, you're gonna find out that science is really a lot more like this. And this. And this. So paddle on out, the water's fine, and join me for a ride into the world of imagination, inspiration, and science. As we dream it, do it. The science of Imagineering. Whoa! Now this is science! Welcome, everyone. This is my workspace, my thinking space at Walt Disney Imagineering. See, everything we do here begins with imagination. We get an idea or a notion for something that might be a whole lot of fun. Then we use the science to figure out how to build those bigger, better, and more exciting attractions. Now, you may be saying to yourselves, Asa, how are we supposed to understand all the science? We're not machines. No way. Well, of course you're not. But funny you should mention machines. Machines are a huge part of what we do at Imagineering, and what we all do every day of our lives. Got it? But as complex as machines may seem, when you open up even the most sophisticated, super mechanized, megatronic thingamajig, you'll find something much simpler inside. Often, the technology all comes down to levers and pulleys. Trust me, you'll be surprised where these things are hiding.
Boola boola.
Sorry about the cramped space today. We've got an Imagineering contest going on right now, where our bosses have challenged us to create the next big thing in audio animatronics figures. I decided to take them literally. Say hello, Mr. Tiki.
Please pass the broccoli and hold the cheese.
I'm still working out some of the kinks.
Me too.
But Mr. Tiki here is a perfect way to show you how we Imagineers use levers and pulleys.
Yes, audio animatronic figures are loaded with levers and pulleys to help them move things like their mouths, mom, and their great big beautiful eyes. Whoa, look at me. And to shoot lightning bolts at pigeons.
Wait. I did not give you that capability.
Yes, but at Imagineering, everything starts with an idea. Boola boola. Okay, you go.
The other reason we can use Mr. Tiki to talk about levers and pulleys is, well, I kind of goofed up when I built him. I made him a little too heavy to move by myself.
A little heavy? Mr. Tiki weighs 600 pounds, which raises two questions. How will you get Mr. Tiki over to contests for judging? And does grass skirt make my butt look big?
What? Today I'm going to show you how levers and pulleys can get me out of this jam. See, they can give you superhuman strength. Here's how. Levers and pulleys are what we call simple machines. And that simply means with just one movement, they make tasks much easier by either multiplying or redirecting the force, or effort, that we put into them. And when they multiply our effort to give us that superhuman strength I was telling you about, we call that mechanical advantage. Mechanical advantage is the number of times a machine multiplies effort force, calculated by dividing resistance by effort force. So, what exactly is a lever? What does it look like? A lever is
Hot stuff that comes from volcano.
that's lava. A lever is
The largest internal organ.
that's a liver. A lever is any more?
Nope. You go.
A lever is
A large marine crustacean. Yum, yum.
that's a lobster.
Mr. Tiki got nothing.
To understand what a lever is and how it works, imagine a seesaw. It's basically a plank that pivots on a fixed point called a fulcrum. The side that has the object you want to lift is your resistance. The side you push on to lift the object, that's your effort. To figure out how much superhuman strength a lever will give you, how much mechanical advantage, all you have to do is divide the length of the effort side by the length of the resistance side. Here, since both the effort and resistance sides are the same length, everything balances equally. No mechanical advantage, no superhuman strength. Or, in layman's terms, it takes a pig to balance a pig.
Bacon.
But move the fulcrum, things start to change. If we use the same board, then the closer the fulcrum is to the heavy object you want to lift, the greater your mechanical advantage, and the less effort you need to lift the object.
Boola, boola.
Let's say the effort side is now 20 feet long, and the resistance side is 2 feet long. That means, with a mechanical advantage of 10, 20 divided by 2, you now only need 1/10 the effort to move a 600-pound tiki. That's only 60 pounds of force. So as long as you weigh at least 60 pounds, there's that superhuman strength, you could now lift a 600-pound tiki.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Ah, but wait, there is a catch.
Huh?
Although we did lift Mr. Tiki with a smaller effort, that effort had to be applied over a greater distance. As you can see, the effort side had to be pushed down much, much further. And that, my super friends, is the trade-off, our kryptonite. Simple machines like levers don't change the amount of work, they just allow you to do things more easily. Things you couldn't do otherwise, like lift heavy objects, and perhaps launch a pig into space.
Bacon.
Now, you probably don't have a giant tiki that you need to lift with a seesaw lever.
Bacon.
But I promise you, you may be using some levers without even realizing it. Like when you flush a toilet. Yes, the handle on your toilet is a lever. It redirects the force to the mechanism in the tank so you can flush. When you use the claw of a hammer to pull out a nail, that's a lever. If you don't think it has any mechanical advantage, next time try pulling the nail out with your fingers.
Bacon. I mean, ow.
Other levers? An oar? A wheelbarrow? A baseball bat? A pair of scissors? Even your arm is a lever. Your elbow is the fulcrum. Ah, perfect. So we know that a lever is one way to lift Mr. Tiki. Unfortunately, I don't really have enough room in my workspace for a lever that long. So what else can move a giant 600-pound tiki?
A lovely poem. A beautiful piece of music. A giant sandwich.
A giant sandwich?
Hey, a tiki got to eat.
Okay, but I was actually going to talk about pulleys.
Hey, whatever peels your coconut.
Pulleys, like levers, are simple machines that make tasks easier by either multiplying or redirecting the effort force we put into them. First, let's see what a single pulley attached to the ceiling will do. Although it does redirect the effort you're applying by changing your pulling position, it really doesn't give you any mechanical advantage. You still need 600 pounds of force to lift a 600-pound tiki. But start adding more pulleys, especially to the object you're trying to lift, and your mechanical advantage increases. How much superpower can you get from a system of pulleys?
Good question.
Assuming these are frictionless pulleys, all you have to do is count the number of ropes supporting the object you're trying to lift. 2 ropes gives you a mechanical advantage of 2, which means you only need half the effort. With 2 ropes, 300 pounds of force can lift a 600-pound tiki. But unless you weigh 300 pounds, that's still a little too heavy for one person to lift. But add lots more pulleys and ropes, and your mechanical advantage grows by leaps and bounds. Imagine 3, 4, 5, or even 6 ropes supporting the tiki. Your mechanical advantage goes up to 6, which means you only need 1/6 the effort to lift Mr. Tiki.
Wow!
To lift a 600-pound tiki, you now only need 100 pounds. And as long as you weigh at least 100 pounds, that's definitely doable. Ah, but wait, yes, there's a catch here too.
Always a catch.
As with levers, although Mr. Tiki has been lifted with a smaller effort, that effort has to be applied over a greater distance. You may only need 1/6 the effort to lift Mr. Tiki, but you now have to pull 6 times as much rope.
Boola boola!
So like levers, pulleys don't change the amount of work. They just allow you to do work more easily, so you can do things you couldn't do otherwise. Now, you've probably seen pulleys in workout machines at the gym, on the tops of flagpoles, maybe even under the hood of a car. Let's see, where else do we use pulleys?
To raise window blinds.
Yes, exactly.
To open garage doors.
Very good.
In elevators.
Yes.
Used to lift giant sandwich.
Yes. I mean, no. What's it with you and all the sandwiches?
Hey, a tiki gotta eat.
I want to show you some of the many and surprising ways that we use levers and pulleys in our theme parks. And I think by the end, you'll discover that you, like me and the other Imagineers, are really a pulley person.
And a lever lover. Boola boola.
Come on, follow me. Here we are at Fantasyland at Disneyland. And I know I promised to show you some interesting ways we use levers and pulleys. But when will I show you? When elephants fly, like Dumbo.
Did you just call me Dumbo?
I'd never do that, Dumbo. Josh. This is Imagineer Josh Gorin. Dumbo the Flying Elephant is an original attraction from when Disneyland first opened. It was replaced in 1991 by the one that's there now. It's also a great way to show you how levers are being used to help tell a story. Josh, how do levers do that?
Well, at Imagineering, it always starts with the story. Dumbo the Ride is based on Disney's 1941 animated feature where Dumbo discovers that he can fly. And the Imagineers that built this attraction wanted our Dumbos to fly too. And to do it, they used third-class levers to lift each ride vehicle.
A third-class lever is a lever where the fulcrum is at one end of the lever and the resistance is at the other end of the lever. The effort happens between the two, kind of like a baseball bat or a shovel. Josh, why use third-class levers?
Well, third-class levers work great here because they allow us to redirect the force so that the motors that are actually applying the effort can hide right here in the center where the guests can't see them. Also, that long lever arm puts Dumbo way out there, which really gives you a better sense that Dumbo's flying on his own.
We use a similar third-class lever system on the Astro Orbiter here in Tomorrowland, where guests soar on their very own Jules Verne-inspired rocket jets. Third-class levers! Hey, look, there's a lever here too.
That's right, that's a joystick. That allows our guests to control Dumbo's flight. By pushing or pulling on that lever, the hydraulic actuator is told to apply more or less force to the actual lever arm. And that's what makes Dumbo go up and down during your flight.
You know, that gives me an idea. Oh, by the way, this is a little notebook that every Imagineer carries. You always want to have a place to jot down your ideas before you forget them. Since 1955, when Disneyland first opened, guests have only been able to control Dumbo either up or down. But what if we wanted to add another layer to the guest experience to allow guests to do what Dumbo actually did in the movie? shoot peanuts out of his trunk. Do you think we could do that with a lever? Crazy? Or just crazy enough to work?
Well, let me see that notebook. Well, we could definitely use levers to control the aiming of the trunk. And we could install some sort of air cannon type system in each trunk to actually shoot the peanuts. We could even install targets with holes or rings that you could shoot through. Yeah, that could definitely work. I'm just not so sure that giving guests the ability to hit each other with peanuts is necessarily the best idea.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I'll say one thing for sure. A fun attraction, Dumbo has been flying high for years thanks to a simple use of levers. And speaking of flying, here we are at Disney's California Adventure, and we're soaring over California in one of the most amazing ride systems ever designed. One that actually simulates a breathtaking free flight in a hang glider. And yes, at the heart of it all are levers and pulleys. This is Imagineer and Senior Technical Director Mark Sumner. He's the guy responsible for the design and implementation of this amazing ride system. So Mark, I once heard a story that you figured all this out using a toy.
That's right. We often build models in Imagineering to help us visualize how an attraction will work in the real world. I went up in my attic. I found an old erector set model that I had when it was one of my toys when I was a kid. And in about 3 hours, I put this together. I brought it back to the team, and it became the model for the Soarin' attraction that our guests ride today.
We know that pulleys are very important in this show. Tell us how it works.
Soarin' uses a single pulley system. We have wire ropes wrapped around a drum near the rear of the theater. This wire rope goes forward around a pulley and pulls the ride system up into the show position. We actually use pulleys for 2 important reasons. First, to bring our guests from a level loading position up to a tri-level position where they can watch the movie. Secondarily, when the pulley system moves is timed to the movie, we get this realistic simulation of free flight.
Not only are you flying over the sights and sounds and smells of California, but you can actually feel the wind in your face. How do levers fit into the system?
We actually have 4 wire ropes that operate the system at the attraction. And a characteristic of wire ropes is that they will stretch a little bit over time. However, every rope won't stretch exactly the same amount. So we use a series of levers to help equalize the load on the rope so that they all pull with the same force.
Wait a minute, I have an idea. Tell me if this is possible. Soarin' uses a horizontal pulley system to slowly move the vehicle into place, and then to slowly move the vehicles during the show. Could you apply a lot more force to that pulley system? Create a high-speed, supersonic Soarin', an attraction where you feel like you're flying in a jet.
Absolutely, I think we could do that. In fact, our Space Mountain attraction at Disneyland Paris uses a high-speed pulley and rope system to launch the ride vehicle up the outside of the building to simulate being fired out of a cannon. So we could do the same thing with Soarin' here. It's a complicated system, but I think with a little Imagineering, we could probably make it work.
If it weren't for levers, we could never have a cool experience like this. You know, tiny little levers and tiny little pulleys aren't only used in models. They're also used inside some very animated figures. Disneyland's Enchanted Tiki Room in Adventureland. This was Disney's first attraction ever to use audio animatronic figures. And as we'll soon see, they're loaded with levers and pulleys. But how do levers and pulleys bring these guys to life? I'll show you. Come on. This is Imagineer Akil Madani and some of his friends. Akil, Pirates of the Caribbean, the Jungle Cruise, It's Tough to Be a Bug. Whenever you think about a Disney theme park, you can't help but think about audio animatronics figures. Audio animatronics technology is a form of realistically lifelike robotics created by Walt Disney Imagineering that electronically and digitally combines pre-recorded synchronized voices with music, sound effects, and character movements. But not everyone thinks about levers and pulleys. Exactly how important are they?
All audio animatronics figures, from the smallest to the biggest, use levers and pulleys to create movement. This is an example of a human audio animatronics figure. You can tell we have to pack a lot of parts into a small amount of space in order to create a realistic human figure. That's where levers and pulleys come in. Here we have the elbow moving. We put actuators in the places where we have more space, and we have levers, which we use to transfer the force and motion to the actual joint where we want the movement to occur.
An actuator is a motor that controls the movement of an object. It's mostly about redirecting force with levers as opposed to multiplying force.
You can be multiplying force, or you can be multiplying motion. If you use the lever backwards, by pushing on the short arm of the lever, on the output end, you get more motion. And we use that everywhere. The elbow, the thighs, the hips, the fingers.
Which is really kind of like looking through a pair of binoculars, except backwards, which is actually a huge part of what we do at Imagineering. We take a scientific principle and turn it inside out to sort of figure out how we might use it in a new and different way, which actually leads us to the tiniest of audio animatronic figures. Tell us a little bit about this guy over here.
This is one of our animatronic figures. Here we actually use electric servos to drive the joints.
An electric servo is a device that controls the position and/or velocity of a machine.
All of the electric servos on this figure are located in the base below the figure. When you drive one of the servo actuators, it drives a lever. The lever transfers force to a cable. The cable runs through the figures, attaches to another lever, which drives the elbow. On the other side of the elbow, we have a spring, which runs over a pulley. The possibilities are endless.
Hey, look, a lever. So we've seen how levers and pulleys can add a little life to our audio animatronics figures. Did you know they can also add a little special effects magic to the movies? The Studio Backlot Tour here at Disney's Hollywood Studio is a fun way to learn how Hollywood brings your favorite movies to the big screen. One of my favorite parts of this attraction is coming up right now. A special effects journey into the dangerous Catastrophe Canyon. Hold on tight, everybody. So not only do you get to feel the realistic rocking and rolling of an earthquake, but there's also a rainstorm, a couple of fiery explosions, and a giant wall of water. Levers at work. This is Imagineer and ride engineer Mark White. Mark, everyone's favorite part of Catastrophe Canyon is when the wall of water comes pouring down the canyon right at you.
Right.
How do you do that?
We actually have 70,000 gallons atop this canyon in 3 different pools. And in order to get that instantaneous effect, we have to use levers. What we do is we actually have 2 levers, almost like gates. And as the levers open, you get the rushing water coming down on the guests. 70,000 gallons just fell. Tram's over here. Guests don't know where this is coming from, if more is gonna come. We actually have another pool up top of the canyon with 6 different levers, 6 different gates. The water comes crushing down, falling over the tram. It's all about levers. And to add on to that, we actually have 3 air cannons that force the water straight into the trams. It's a great effect.
And the entire catastrophe, water and all, recycles every 3.5 minutes?
That's right. We actually have 3 pumps that are underwater that pump all of that water back up into the original pools they were in. The levers reset, and they prepare for the next guest to arrive. And the show happens all over again, and is a great, great attraction.
It's pretty intense to see over 70,000 gallons of water come rushing straight at you. And another example of levers at work. Welcome back to my cube.
Mr. Tiki been here whole time. Mr. Tiki rigged up with pulley and ready to go to contest. Mr. Tiki say, let's go.
Okay, let's go ahead and get Mr. Tiki out of here. Remember, when it comes to levers and pulleys, they really are everywhere you look, and often in places you may not be looking. But they are at work, making our lives easier. And when used correctly, they allow us to do things we wouldn't ordinarily be able to do, like lift Mr. Tiki. Let's see, I have a 600-pound Tiki, and I have 6 pulleys. So all I need is 100 pounds of force. I can do that. Okay, hold on.
You think Mr. Tiki gonna let go? It working. It not working.
My calculations were correct. Unfortunately, I forgot to take into account the strength of the ceiling. And while I get someone to clean this mess up, I believe there's still some giant waves out there with my name on them. And I do love a challenge.
Oh, I think Mr. Tiki got a splinter.
It's always a beautiful day for bodyboarding at Typhoon Lagoon's wave pool. But levers and pulleys? I bet you're wondering where we're hiding them. This is Imagineer and mechanical engineer Mike Waldine. Mike, what are we talking about here?
See that big wall behind us? Inside, there's 12 chambers, and the 12 chambers house 6,000 to 7,000 gallons of water. And they're all held in by these huge one-ton doors, which basically act like levers, okay? And so on the bottom of those doors, we hydraulically open them, and in less than a second, we generate this huge wave.
Thousands of gallons of water released by 12 levered doors. Amazing science. So we've got these 12 one-ton doors and all these big levers. Is there anything cool we can do with that?
Yeah, absolutely. We can control the direction that we break the wave. To do that, we basically just stagger how we open the chambers. We can break the wave from right to left, or vice versa, we can break the wave from left to right.
And a couple of simple levers allow us to create a giant experience. And a giant wave, which looks like a lot of fun, and I know I'm dying to try it again. So thank you so much, Mike.
No problem, Masa. But can we get out of this water?
Levers are cool! This was fun, but I better get back to Mr. Tiki.
Fine time to play with waves. We got contests to win.
Yeah, but we've reached the end of our show. Let's recap. As we've seen with levers, moving the fulcrum to different places on the lever allows us to either redirect or multiply our effort. The closer the fulcrum is to the object we're trying to lift, the more superhuman strength or mechanical advantage we gain.
Boola boola.
Pulleys also allow us to redirect or multiply our effort. The more ropes we attach to the object we're trying to lift, the greater the mechanical advantage. I still can't figure out how to get you out of here. And it's too bad because I hear they have sandwiches.
Sandwiches? Fine, Mr. Tiki move himself.
Well, I suppose motivation can get things moving too. I hope you'll remember that everything starts with an idea. If you follow through with your ideas, science can be the means to turn them into reality. As we say at Imagineering, dream it, do it.
We also say, shake a leg, hurry up.
Well, I'll see you next time.